4 atheistic fallacies that flood YouTube. Number 1. Belief in God is the same as belief in Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, Thor, or my personal favorite, the Flying Spaghetti Monster. This is a fallacious and ungrounded argument that atheists love to use. Let's take a closer look at this common error. If we assume, for the sake of the argument, that there is a creator, we must logically ask ourselves, what has this being created? It's obvious we're talking about the universe and everything in it. So the first step here is to refer to this notion of God as the creator, the designer of the universe, and not to refer to the notion to what people have invented as myths and fables. Do you see the difference? These are two completely different arguments and realities. Number 2, who created God? Holy Toledo! I get this one all the time. Let's square it away. In simple plain logic, there are 3 basic universal premises. Number 1, everything that begins to exist has a cause. Number 2, the universe began to exist. Number 3, therefore we conclude that the universe must have a cause. That the universe must have a cause. Now back to God. God does not need or have a cause for his existence. This is not proof for his existence. It is logic. Therefore, we conclude that God, not the Easter Bunny, never began to exist. He has always existed. That which has no cause cannot be created. Please understand that when you use this fallacy, that is, who created God, you are committing a logical fallacy of the 3rd degree. Number 3, a good God would not allow evil in the world. Therefore, God does not exist. This argument does not look at the very thing the atheist enjoys the most, his free will. But a creature who is capable of exercising free will leads us to know that God created man firstly with free will, and then man's capacity for good and evil is a direct result of this. That is the argument. But the atheist looks at the cup half empty. He does not see three things. Let's use some examples here. Number one, if a child dies in a fire, the atheist asks, where was God? But this question does not look at all the children that were saved in other fires. For example, by a fireman who was used by God. There is evil, but there is also much good that is provoked by God. Yet, isn't it ironic how the atheist overlooks great human virtues and just ties them to our human nature, not to God at all? Yet evil in the world is due to the lack of God rather than a human being without God. Isn't it ironic how the atheist overlooks great human virtues and just ties them to our human nature, not to God at all? Yet evil in the world is due to the lack of God rather than a human being without God. For example, by a fireman who was used by God. Once again, the cup is half empty.
God cannot wink at evil. He must destroy every last bit of it. Let's talk.
Christ. Lastly, the evil argument is fallacious in itself because to know the existence of evil, one must compare it to something good or to the existence of good. A question that can be asked to every atheist that uses this erroneous reasoning is, would you really like God to put a complete stop to everything he considers evil in the world? Where would you be? And what would happen to you if he were to end what is evil in his eyes? And fallacy number 4, the God of the Old Testament was a murderous, evil, and vengeful God. This must be almost every atheist's favorite argument. And it leads to another common error, that is, in the 10 Commandments, when God said, thou shalt not kill, and then commands people to murder other people, he was contradicting himself. First of all, there is a difference between murder and kill in the original language. God did not prohibit capital punishment when the Israelites were under his theocentric government. Moreover, the giver of life has the capacity and power to take life when he was the one that gave life to begin with. This is difficult for many atheists to swallow, I know. Misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully. Misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully.